Welcome back to Late Night Love, where we get real about the messy, beautiful, and sometimes downright confusing world of relationships. I'm your host, Jazz. She's Lubby, and we're diving into something we've all faced at some point. Fake people. You know the type, the ones who wear masks, twist the truth, and leave you questioning everything, including your sanity. Whether it's a partner hiding a secret, friend who's all talk, or even someone you've just met online, deception can creep into our lives in ways that shake us to the core. In this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on the art of deception. Oh, never mind. I'm not going through all of that because I don't think we're doing all that. So in this episode, we're talking about the art of deception, sneaky techniques fakes use like manipulation, emotional appeals, and even tech-savvy tricks to create false identities. We talk about some red flags. And of course, we get into some real-life stories, like partners who kept a pregnancy secret, or the ex who slid back into the DMs. These moments will test us. They also teach us how to protect ourselves and grow. So grab your favorite late night drink, settle in, and let's uncover truth behind the fakes and how to rise above it all. All right. So we've all run into people who are kind of phony, whether it's work, personal relationships, whatever. It's people who, whether it's by design or just because they don't have discipline to follow through, right? You don't do everything they say, which is fine. We're humans, right? We all make mistakes. Things happen, and there's some of that. But there's a different level to it, right? There's the humanity of it where people forget or you get busy or whatever, versus when you tell somebody something and you just never meant it in the beginning, right? There's a difference there.
Yeah.
Between the human failure, there's the term I'm looking for.
Okay.
I knew if I bumble around enough times, I come up with the term I'm thinking of. If it's the human failure, the human frailty, the human failure is one thing. It's another thing if it's deliberate deception. Right? These are two different things. So the deception.
I find that sometimes the people who do this,
mm-hmm.
they will tell you briefly at the beginning, I have trouble committing in relationships. You'll just get one blurb, and then they expect you to just hear that, understand it, accept it, live with it, co-sign it, and it never comes up again.
Yeah, I can be a bit of a butthead, and that's kind of it. They'll leave it alone, and you're supposed to have taken that red flag and listened to it.
Uh-huh. And so you're supposed to go along with just because they explained it to you.
Yeah.
They told you.
And you're still here. I don't know what you want.
You're still here. Yeah, I don't know what you want from me. This is not my fault.
Yeah, and and the reason most of these people like that, they do this is because they trying to get what they want guilt-free. So if in their mind, I told them I'm a bad person. If they didn't want to listen to me, that's their problem.
Exactly.
Now you're just a sucker. And so they feel justified. And so that's the real goal, right? They just feel essentially morally superior, and they like that, so they repeat it. And if they can do that and get a few bucks or whatever else they're after, then, it's the con artist, right? And that's essentially what they are. All right, so we've talked about a little bit, why they do it, and manipulation, lies. We've briefly covered all that, and why, but what are the other things they can look for, like your body language, because when you've got 20% of the population has some kind of anxiety disorder, how reliable is body language? We all talk about our body language cues. But someone like me who can't sit still,
I remember on
always fidgets.
our first meeting,
Mhm.
because you don't go on dates. Our first meeting, we were sitting in this teeny tiny little park, and all of a sudden you walked away about 15 feet and you turned around and you were just looking off into the distance. And I'm like, okay, I think he's trying to tell me he doesn't like me, but he hasn't actually said that. So I'm going to wait and see when he comes back what he has to say. If he wants to end the date, okay, I'll just take it with some grace. I really like him. I hope he doesn't, but we'll see what happens. And you came back and you're like, would you like to go get something to eat? Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go get something to eat now. Cool. He figured something out. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah, on occasion I need to release some stress, and I do that with pacing. And so, that's what you saw right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yes. Well, now you do.
Well, I do now.
But that's the thing. Body language and tone. Your tone, your body language.
Yeah, I thought he doesn't like me. He's going to dump me.
It's not.
That's what your body language was saying. So
it's not always reliable. So,
Yeah.
But you know what? Oddly enough, what is actually kind of reliable is your human instinct. I'm gonna skip to the end of the page here.
Okay.
Is your human instinct. That gut feeling that you have when something's not right. We're actually very good at smelling danger, in a sense. The human animal is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have existed. We wouldn't have evolved to where we are now if we were fairly good at sniffing out danger.
Yeah.
We're actually pretty good at it as an animal. And so we need to be a little more aware of our surroundings. I think a little more aware to what our body is telling us. A little more self-aware. I think keeps us out of more danger. And it's hard, right? You trusted your instincts and things worked out.
Yes.
Yeah. The body language was wrong, but I'm going to trust my instincts on this one.
Yeah.
I'll wait. My instincts are to wait.
Because I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
Because I really like him and he seemed to really like me. So I'm going to actually wait and see what he says.
Wait before you react.
Yeah.
But your instinct wasn't to run. So
No, nothing was off.
Yeah.
It's just I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. So it's understand the difference between those two things, right? Being self-aware enough to understand the difference between when something's off or when something's just, I just don't know this person fully yet. It probably makes sense that I just don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So we are going to get, so red flags, inconsistencies in stories, right? We're just going to bang through some of these.
Okay.
Conflicting narratives, lack of detail or shifting detail, and a continually shifting of explanations. Oh, well, it wasn't really that. It was this. And oh, well, maybe it was Bob. That kind of thing. Exaggerated or overly confident claims. Boastful behavior, overinflated self-importance. The I'm having trouble speaking.
The Shatners.
Nah, well, yes, people are a little over the top, but but the Hap Shaughnessy's of the world. There we go. For those of our red green fans out there, there's got to be one person out there who's red green. One, but there's always put a little something on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Be a little careful with people who feel the need to do that. And, observe for a disconnect between words and actions. Actions speak louder than words. Ultimately, over the long haul.
It took me till I was about 30, 35. Too long to figure out not to pay attention to what people say,
Yeah.
but watch their behavior.
And watch what they do over time. Yeah, because people could fake it for a little while.
They can for a little bit.
Yeah, but they can't fake it forever. You can't fake it for long. You can lie for a long time, but it's hard to fake your personality for a long time. It's those things, seep out. So how do you protect yourself from these kind of things, Lovey? I mean, right? These are kind of the same things. So one of the things is you build your genuine connections, right? You prioritize open and honest communication. So be honest, open and honest with the people around you, because you're going to attract those kind of people around you. And the dishonest people, are afraid of that, and they'll go away. You're not their tribe. You're no longer acceptable. So, be as transparent as possible in your own relationships. Be consistent and as reliable as you can. Again, we just talked about,
Actions.
Mm-hmm. Do, then speak, instead of speak, then do,
Mm-hmm.
is one of our things. And again, that's attractive to other people like that. Hey, that person's like me. I'm going to go join them. Or I'm going to go ask them to join me. Or, hey, I got this thing. They're good at this. I'm good at this part. If we work together, we can accomplish a different goal. I'm going to go ask them. That's how you get opportunities. Genuine, real, long-term, sustainable opportunities. And embrace the power of your vulnerability. That genuine connection builds yourself up, as long as not just you, builds the other person and your community as a whole. It really does. So trust your instincts. Don't ignore that gut feeling. Set your boundaries and prioritize your self-care. We've talked about, saying no. What was that? Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you prioritize your self-care. And here's the important one. Your critical thinking skills. Practice those critical thinking skills. Examine yourself, your own beliefs, your own perspectives. Challenge those, because if you're willing to challenge your own, then you're going to be willing to challenge other people's. If you're willing to honestly examine your own, then you're going to be well versed and well practiced at examining other people's. So, don't be afraid to ask those questions of not just other people, but of yourself. And answer yourself honestly. Man, jeez, me and English aren't getting along today. All right, so we're on to some questions, Lovey. We got a lot of them, so let's blow through these tonight.
Okay. How can I convince my wife that I don't care what she did? She got pregnant secretly. Secretly, yeah. She didn't ask him. And they didn't talk about it.
Yeah, but
they already have one child who he's just thrilled. He wants a big family. He doesn't care.
So it's not. So they just.
But she's worried.
So wait, this is a married couple who's been having intimate relationships. One of those intimate encounters happened to encumber and create a pregnancy, and she's worried that she was dishonest about the whole thing. That's just nature taking its course. I'm not understanding what the problem is here.
Well, she stopped. They didn't use birth control. She didn't bring it up.
So, and he didn't care enough to bring it up either. This is how families happen. I'm still failing to see the problem here. It's not like he had an expectation that she was on birth control and she secretly stopped taking it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there's no there. This is just what happens. This is how people have second and third childs. This is just what happens. It's not even an accident. It's like sometimes you didn't really want to have a child yet, but you get one anyway because you weren't careful one night or something. It's not even one of those. They were deliberately not being careful.
Because he wants 5 kids.
This was a deliberate choice. She's feeling guilty for some reason, probably because she's brought up in this thing where, everything needs consent and all that. And I understand it, but you've already consented. That's part of the thing.
She wanted to get pregnant and she was trying, but she didn't tell him.
And he doesn't care. He wanted you to get pregnant. He's perfectly fine. This is the definition of not a problem. Congratulations. I can get why she might feel, if she has, if her family trait is to guilt, shall we say. If they have a family trait towards guilt, I get why she might feel guilty. But she doesn't need to. There's no there. So she's all right. Just keep reaffirming that it's fine. That's all you can really do. Okay, what's next?
My wife reached out to an ex after he added her as a Facebook friend. How can I move on from this? She tried to contact him, and she wants a phone conversation. She wants to talk to him.
What is she?
And be friends.
Well, is she just trying to... Because there's two things that are completely legitimate, right? One, if she's just needs something, she needs some kind of closure, and that's what she's trying to do. Okay, I could accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Two, maybe they had a decent personal relationship, but the relationship part doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just not meant for each other, but they're perfectly friendly. That's fine.
It actually does happen. Hello. People can just be friends.
People can, but we tried that relationship thing. It didn't really work. But we like hanging out and talking about Star Wars or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with men and women having friends. As long as she's being open and honest about what she's doing and she's not hiding it, then I don't see the problem.
I don't either. She's not hiding anything. She's being open and honest with him.
Now, there could be other things that we're not aware of that make it a little more red flaggy.
Maybe.
But I don't know. It's not a red flag. Maybe you might want to be a caution flag, and if at this point, pay attention. But I wouldn't call it a red flag, because people are allowed to have, friends, and friends are hard to make these days, and so
they are.
And so if you've got somebody who's friend compatible, why wouldn't you reconnect? You're not reconnecting a relationship, you're reconnecting a friend, right? I think that's perfectly fine. Okay.
My boyfriend said he would send nudes to my family if I ever cheat or break up with him. I have not cheated, and I won't, but he really scared me.
And it should. That's the definition of you move on.
Red flag.
Yeah. That's the definition of a red flag and time to move on. And be careful with your exit. So
no more nudes for you.
Yeah, no more conversation for him. Yeah. That's one time to end. Okay. What's next?
I just got a devastating text from my partner. She's female. He's male.
Mm-hmm.
And he made some little comment. Hey, have you thought about hitting the gym again? You're getting a little pudgy. He actually said it.
There's ways you can approach that without being a butthead, if you really feel the need.
You approached me. My weight was up near 275.
Yeah, but it was about health.
You were concerned about my health because I couldn't even walk 5 minutes without stopping and having to take a rest.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
That is what you address. Health.
Yes. So you can address this kind of thing. Maybe she's got a bad habit of snacking at night, because, eating a bad snack, and if she doesn't take care of it now, it's going to end up being a problem later on. You can't bring that up, but you bring that up specifically. Hey, I'm concerned about, we used to take care of our health and things have slipped recently. I want to know if there's something wrong. she's dealing with bouts of depression. That's how you bring that up. You actually deal with the underlying issue, not that, hey, you're a little chubby, you should go to the gym. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
What is he thinking? Well, he is 26.
They're old enough to know better at that age. You should know better at 26 to be more careful how you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I also don't want to go too much that he's overly controlling or whatnot. It's entirely possible that maybe she's dealing with a bout of depression, and that's his clueless way of dealing with it, shall we say. Completely clumsy way of dealing with it because he doesn't know how. So here's my trick. Assuming that maybe she's going through a bout of depression and she's overeating and developing bad eating habits, you deal with that. Hey, I'm worried about you going through a bout of depression and you're developing some bad eating habits. Is there anything we can do? That's how you deal with it. You deal with the actual issue, not the thing that created your concern about the issue. You deal with the actual issue. Okay.
Okay. He orgasmed and didn't tell me. And now I'm totally embarrassed. Because she just kept going.
Yeah.
And
why?
He just was like, can we stop now?
Yeah, well, because it's hard to. But why would she be embarrassed?
She's embarrassed.
Well,
that she feels she should know. She should have known.
That's not how that works. It's all the time. Just saying. And maybe he didn't orgasm, but the night ran its course. That's can happen. That's can happen.
True, it can.
So
y'all are not robots. Come on.
Just saying. So I don't know. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing. That's my only answer to this. That type of human interaction leads to all kinds of things that, if we think about it too much, we would all be embarrassed about. So don't think about it too much. Move on. It's just a thing, Be happy you didn't blow your knee out or something. There you go. There's my suggestion. All right, what's next?
Are people using a lot of toys during sex?
Well, some people are. Some people.
Well, it's a booming industry, so somebody's using them.
Yeah, but this is one of those things where the people who use them buy more than one.
They have a collection.
Oh man, some people do have a collection. So like Pokemon cards or something. You just collect these things. I'm like, okay, knock yourselves out, I suppose. But use them if you want to. If you don't. There's no, you know what I'm saying? That's my suggestion to anybody on this kind of thing. If you want to, yes, use them. If you don't. If you want to try some, don't borrow toys, sex toys. So you're going to have to go buy some cheap ones and give it a try, would be my suggestion. You don't want to share sex toys. I suppose you could sanitize them, run it through a dishwasher or something. I don't know. It's just not very. Don't want to think about it too much. Okay.
They have special cleaners.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah. But do you really want, seriously, think about it? I'm just saying. Okay.
I'm getting married next month and scared for sex. It's been a long distance relationship.
Well, this is a feeling that people have been dealing with since the beginning of time.
Long distance relationships was kind of the norm for a while.
Yeah, because sometimes you didn't even know who you were getting married to. You just went and got married, depending upon your social class and time period and blah, blah, blah. So Yes. So this is perfectly normal, is my point. Your apprehension. It's perfectly 100% normal. And if you're looking for kind, comforting words to help you not be scared, there's none.
It's wonderful. It's going to be amazing. You're both going to be nervous. Okay, she's going to be nervous too. This is a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, and together you get to discover your love for each other in a new way. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
But there's no way, there's nothing I can tell them. It's not going to make, they're still going to be scared the minute.
They're going to be scared. They're going to be nervous.
Uh-huh.
They're going to think they did it wrong.
And you probably did, but that's all right. You get to practice. That's the nice thing about that.
That's the fun part.
The fun part is getting it wrong and trying again. That's the fun part. So I don't know. You're going to be scared, but the amount you're scared, it's one of those things. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the more nervous and scared you are, the more potential energy there is for the event. And so if that energy turns positive, then congratulations. But it's perfectly normal. That's the best comforting thing I can tell you is what you're feeling right now is perfectly normal. Perfectly human. Welcome to the tribe. Yeah. Congratulations on the marriage. Yeah. Okay.
Why do guys that I have sex with almost always excuse themselves to the bathroom before having sex? What are they doing in there?
Making sure their balls don't stink.
Really?
Probably. Was that right over there? I made our engineer laugh. Generally speaking, you're something of that nature.
You just check on everything.
Just freshening up. Well, that too, but
okay.
Personally, I always make sure that the gentleman refresh.
Okay. Well, that's thoughtful.
Well, unless the person liked them a little unfresh, which does happen. But making sure
you usually know that.
Making sure you're in the parameters of the person you are with.
Acceptable.
And if you're with the new person, your acceptable parameters are in making sure nothing smells.
Because you just done that?
Some people like the musty kind of smell, the human things, and others want it to smell like, fresh daisies and soap. So you do what your partner prefers.
Yeah.
Clearly. Okay. All right.
Okay. Question about Bush. Unpopular? Where did it go?
Well, this is one of these things. Just because something hits popular culture doesn't mean it's actually the most popular thing.
Okay.
The silent majority still actually exists. So just because popular culture is saying everybody has gone to, shall we say, the Brazilian or something of that nature, doesn't mean they are. Most people are still somewhere within normalcy.
Okay.
Just from a practical sense, there's a reason that area still has hair, and the rest of us doesn't.
Well, it kind of filters out stuff.
It does things.
It keeps things actually clean.
And a little padding helps with chafing. All kinds of things that actually exist for. So that practical. Most people are still generally practical.
Yeah.
And so it didn't work. It's not that it went anywhere. It's just that no one's out there waving it around. That's all that is. Okay. Last question for the night.
Okay. My husband doesn't like that I'm slutty for him. She gets dressed up, does even the heavy makeup. She starts talking nasty, and maybe she'll do a little woo-woo stuff that she wouldn't normally do. She'll push herself a little bit, out of her boundaries. Try stuff.
Well, that's
and he doesn't like that. He doesn't want
Well, yeah.
Why? Don't guys like that?
Well, guys are just like everything else. There's certain things we do and certain things we don't. The heavy makeup would be a turnoff for me because that's the last thing I want to deal with in a thing is a bunch of heavy makeup. That's just annoying. Then you get makeup everywhere. And so, sometimes you can try too hard, and trying too hard can actually be a turnoff. So, and there's also another problem that some husbands and partners can have is they put their partner on a pedestal. You're supposed to be a lady, and they carry that into the bedroom and you're supposed to still be a lady. You know what? While most of us kind of want,
mix it up a little bit.
A little bit. Some people can't get them off the pedestal because it breaks their vision of them, and they don't want to do that. It's completely unfair to the woman. She doesn't get to be her full self. She doesn't get to be her complete self unless she's, likes that. Some people like being put on a pedestal, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But as a rule of thumb, most people kind of like having a full spectrum of their humanity. And if you get put up on a pedestal, it's hard when you fall off.
It sure is.
Because you will eventually fall off because it's not possible to stay on a pedestal your entire life. It's just not. You're a full human being who moves around, and things happen. And so, but that is, sometimes happen. Especially if someone catches a woman who they feel is out of their league, you get put up on a pedestal and it can be damaging to everybody. Yeah, because they don't realize it. They don't realize what they've done. And they don't realize that they're not allowing their partner to be a full human being. All right, so that's a wrap on tonight's episode. So here's the thing. Relationships are hard enough without the added weight of deception. But now you've got the tools to spot fakes, whether it's through body language, too good to be true stories, or that nagging feeling in your gut. So remember, protecting yourself isn't about building walls. It's about setting boundaries, trusting your instincts, and knowing when to walk away. And on the flip side, building genuine connections starts with you by being open, honest, and unapologetically yourself. So take a moment, reflect on your own relationships. Are there red flags you've been ignoring? Or maybe it's time to lean into vulnerability and let someone see the real you. Whatever it is, know that you deserve connections that lift you up, not tear you down. If this episode hit home, share it with someone who might need a little truth bomb in their life. And don't forget to subscribe for more late night real talk. Until next time, stay true, stay strong, and remember, authenticity is your superpower. So have a good night, and please remember to love everybody.